Hey, everybody. This is Jake. Thanks for being here. This week, we'll be thinking together about how to be a faithful Christian within a diverse cultural context. And before we start, a reminder about scheduling me for your event. My colleague, Holly Davis, is now working on my 2027 schedule. If you would like to invite me to lead a retreat, offer a talk, participate in a webinar, or preach at your event, just give her a shout. So, on to faithful presence. Bob misses his CDs. Back in the day, back when people actually had CDs, he had a huge collection of rock and jazz albums. Since he was a gifted guitarist, Bob preferred groups that featured intricate guitar work and blazing solos. Bob and his wife Jen had sought out a church that would help them build a strong marriage and raise their 3 young children. Their new pastor routinely warned the flock about the evil, even the demonic influence of popular culture. The same message was echoed by their fellow worshipers, so Bob and Jen threw away the entire CD collection, gradually replacing it with contemporary Christian music. The children's VCR tapes followed those CDs to the garbage dump. These days, Bob streams most of his old favorites on Apple Music. As he puts it, Christian music sucks. His grandchildren watch the Disney Channel along with Netflix and Hulu. I'm not sure that anyone in that extended family goes to church on a regular basis or at all. If being Christian meant separating themselves entirely from the surrounding culture, the Christian thing is clearly not for them. As it turns out, I'm a fan of Mumford & Sons, Billie Eilish, and Howlin' Wolf. My reading includes the Gray Man series and British detective novels by Peter Granger. Maybe I shouldn't tell you what movies I watch and which series I'm streaming on Prime right now. Let's just leave it at this. I enjoy a lot of popular culture. Nevertheless, I take Paul's words to the Romans seriously. He writes, "Do not be conformed to this age, but be transformed by the renewing of the mind, so that you may discern what is the will of God." Some translations read, "Do not be conformed to this world," but Paul wasn't pitting our souls against the cosmos or the physical universe. The word he used refers to the times, to the culture, the values prized and the purposes pursued by the surrounding culture, to what we might call a zeitgeist or a spirit of the times. There is a distinction between the community gathered around and formed by Jesus and the wider culture. Bob and Jen's pastor urged his congregation to withdraw because he saw culture as essentially evil, anti-Christian. They could maintain their holiness only by purifying themselves of cultural influences. Christian nationalists take a dim view of our age. However, unlike Bob and Jen's pastor, Christian nationalists like Doug Wilson urges the church to purify the surrounding culture. He is the pastor of Christ Church in Moscow, Idaho, and founder of a small denomination called the Communion of Reformed Evangelicals. It's known as the CREC. His connection to Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has moved him from the fringes to a position of significant political influence. The explicitly stated agenda of CREC is that biblical law should be the actual law of the United States. To be clear, they are advocating more than the use of Scripture as a personal moral code. For instance, Wilson advocates the repeal of women's right to vote. That's the 19th Amendment. He said that slavery was not uniformly evil, and homosexuality should be criminalized. The irony of Christian nationalism is that the church stops being the church. Christian nationalists seek to impose their preferred social order on everyone else. In other words, they are unwittingly allowing themselves to be animated by the spirit of this age. As I've written elsewhere, the spirit of this age is the will to power. The will to power strives for dominance and demands submission. By contrast, the church is a community shaped and animated by the power of love. Christ's love is freely given to us. We freely and actively receive it. And that love transforms who we are as individuals and as a community. In the Jesus community, all are equally the beloved in their differences. The good of each cannot be separated from the good of all, and none of us belongs by coercion. We belong through the free acceptance of Jesus' invitation. The Jesus community is differentiated from the wider community. As Augustine tells us, we recognize that we live in the city of man, the contemporary cultural context, and yet we are citizens of the city of God. Our highest allegiance is always to the kingdom of heaven, not to any civil state. We take our place humbly and courageously in the public square, whatever that square's contours and dynamics may be. As the sociologist James Davison Hunter puts it, the church's posture should always be faithful presence. The Jesus community does not simply withdraw, neither do we seek to dominate. Instead, we follow Jeremiah's advice to the exiles in Babylon. We seek the welfare of the city where I have sent you into exile, and pray to the Lord on its behalf, for in its welfare you will find your welfare. Sometimes we'll find ourselves cooperating for a shared good with people whose beliefs differ from our own. At other times, we resist injustice, even at great cost. But the power we will exercise is always the same. The power of love. Before we turn to this week's spiritual practice, a quick thanks to everybody who subscribes. The Woodlands is always free. If you'd like to help our ministry to At Youth Risk, as well as other ministries in under-resourced communities that we do, consider a paid subscription. Louisiana, by the way, has been rated as a state with the highest population of at-risk youth in the United States. If you're following along in Substack, you can just go to the spiritual practice next right there in the email that you got. And if you are on Apple Podcast or Spotify, just go to the show notes and you'll find the spiritual practice there. So that's it for this week, friends. Until next time, be well and God bless.